People think it's the census or something. I mean, this has got to represent the actual pie chart of America. Who cares? It's just funny. You know, funny is the world that I live in. You're funny, I'm interested. You're not funny, I'm not interested. Okay. And I have no interest in gender or race or anything like that, but everyone else is kind of with their little calculating, is this the exact right mix? You know, I think that's, to me, it's anti-comedy.
Jerry Seinfeld taking heat from some people for what he said there to BuzzFeed. Back with me now is Amy Holmes, Mark Lamont Hill, and Ben Ferguson. So, come on then, Mark Lamont Hill. What do you make of what Jerry Seinfeld said there? Because I couldn't help but find myself agreeing with him.
I think wow, Piers, you're 0 for 2 tonight, man. You're usually on the money, man. No, Seinfeld is relying on a corrupted assumption. It's the same assumption that informs people who are anti-affirmative action, and that is that the people who are being put in to promote diversity are somehow less qualified or less talented. The argument for people who want to diversify Saturday Night Live or comedy troupes is not that they want to put some unfunny black people on, it's that there are funny people of all races who somehow get excluded from the mix. The idea is to have a mix of talented people. That's where Seinfeld is wrong.
Right, but isn't he also making the point, though, and this is the point I agree with, that in the end, humour is humour is humour. And if you sit down with your American pie chart of cultural diversity in the country and divide up your humour quota for the show in a very specific kind of scientific, PC-pleasing way, I got his point that in the end you're drifting away from what humour should be, which is just spontaneous, funny stuff. Doesn't really matter, does it?
Right, but
the
you know
colour
what,
of people involved?
But Piers, humor is not humor, and I think the larger point here is that while funny is funny, that's the first rule of comedy, it's also know your audience. And Seinfeld pointed out to his audience, which frankly reflected where he's coming from. I think that what plays in the Borscht Belt doesn't necessarily play in Oakland. And what plays in the Catskills doesn't necessarily play from my hometown of Seattle, where it's all about grunge. I think humor can come from a cultural perspective, can come from an ethnic perspective, that then would necessarily mean that you are not going to have a rainbow coalition of comics.
And not only that.
Okay.
Right.
Ben, I'll come to you. Yeah, go on, Ben. Go on, you get him. Ben?
No, I would say this, as Mark Lamont Hill's token white friend. Not everything has to come down to race. And I mean, let's be honest about this. I would love to be an NFL football player or an NBA basketball player, but I don't think we need a quota for white guys that can't jump. The same way that he's saying, if you're funny, I don't care what you look like. If you make me laugh, I'll sit down with you and interview. And I'm not thinking about, okay, well, last Tuesday we had a white guy, so we need a Hispanic guy, and then next week we need a black guy.
What makes Jerry Seinfeld laugh could be very specific to Jerry Seinfeld and where he's coming from in his cultural milieu, and it might not,
Amy,
necessarily
let me ask you
be
this.
the same kind of person.
Let me put this question to Amy and to Mark. Neither of you would say that Jerry Seinfeld is racist, though, right? He's not being racist, is he? He's just saying he doesn't want to have a sort of compelling pressure of you must be diverse in this manner to dictate how he produces humour. That's what he's saying.
I mean, I haven't seen any evidence that would suggest he's racist. Now, there was that other cast member who had a very unfortunate stand-up routine.
Exactly. Standing next to Kramer, he's like Martin Luther King.
Right, exactly. But as I say, the larger point is know your audience. And you might be speaking to a narrow audience. You might be speaking to a broad audience. And there will be ethnic and cultural and racial implications.
Okay, listen, I want to move on. We've had our time on that. Let's move on to this. Move on to the